Tony from Analog Motorcycles. I am the CEO, founder, receptionist, fabricator, janitor, and all-around employee. Started the brand in 2008, and we're still going. We started a parts line called Analog Motor Goods, and so we fabricate custom motorcycles for clients all over the country. We fabricate just custom pieces for some clients in shop. We have the parts line, and now we decided to start racing. My first motorcycle was a 1990 Suzuki Katana that I bought in 1994, and it was a sport bike. That was what I was drawn to. Quickly realized that I wanted something faster yet, so in '98 bought a GSXR 600, also Suzuki, and shortly after that realized the fastest way to learn how to ride a motorcycle is on a track. So I started doing track days for several years. Crashed a couple times, learned some things. Then over the course of several years, ended up with some elbow and shoulder injuries from just wear and tear. Doctor at that time told me to take it easy, so I just paused track riding for a number of years. Then in, I think it was 2014-ish, 15 maybe, Johnny Moto from Motorworks Chicago hit me up and said, we do a track day every year at Gingerman, and if you want to come out, come out. Got out there, and of course it wasn't one of those things where I forgot how great this was. It was more of a, it's so good to be back on the track, because it just feels, it's where I completely clear my mind, and the only thing I focus on is exactly what's in front of me at the time. A couple people I knew had started racing. I had a KTM motard at the time, and there was a class for the motards, but I had to get a license. So I went to Blackhawk Farms, which is where I coincidentally did my very first track day, and took the class, got my race license, and raced a couple weekends later in Michigan for the very first time. Didn't come in last, so I was like, maybe I'll give this a little bit of a go. At the time, I had a customer who lived in Michigan and invited him to come out. I had built him a couple motorcycles, invited him to come out to the track. He came out to the track and just kind of fell in love with the whole race track experience. If you've never been, I encourage you to hit up a local motorcycle racetrack and just check out club racing. It's a cool community of people that kind of help each other out and like to go fast. In 2018-19, that customer, now turned good friend, asked me to build a race bike. And I asked him, or I told him, I was like, if you want to build a race bike, you should probably do a track day first, because to my knowledge, he was just a street rider. And so he's like, no, I want you to build the race bike, and then I want you to race it. And I was like, I think we got a bad connection on this phone line, because that sounds like a dream come true of some sort. And so we had dinner not too long after that, and we sat down, talked about it, and kind of made a deal that I would build this race bike that I got to race. And of course he had to pick the bike and pick the class, and we did a bunch of back and forth on what we wanted to start with, and we built the Hyper 8. It is probably the most expensive Hyper Motard 796 on the planet at this point. It's gone through a number of engines or a number of engine iterations. We blew up the first time we raced it. Big learning curve. Like, he had never obviously been into racing. I have only done track days on fairly stock machines, so I had no idea. And then we built this custom motorcycle and threw it on the track. But we learned quick. Started having podium finishes right away. Got comfortable on it really fast. we had some good points for one of these seasons, and we ended up finishing like I think second our first full season that we tried to hit up, 5 or 6 races or 5 or 6 race weekends. So we're like, well, shoot, like we did, put a decent effort in, not a full 100% effort, and ended up with second place. Let's try to go for first next year. So we did a little more improvements on the bike and ended up with more finishes that were top level, and it came down to that year, I think it was 2022, it came down to essentially the last 2 races of the year, and I went to them. My biggest competitor was there. I was able to sneak out one more win against him by like a fraction of a second and clinched the Battle of the Twins 2 championship that year. So obviously Del, who is the owner of the bike that we started racing, he decided to find another project. It was going to be a street project, and then he's like, well, let's build a race bike out of it, because it came with a bunch of good racing bits on it. Titanium frame, Behringer brakes, Olin suspension. So we ended up building race bike number 2, which is for Battle of the Twins 1. We finished the second bike, which we called the MH11, a Mike Hailwood edition, or a replica, sort of. And we tested it a little bit at the end of 22, and then did a full season on it in 2023. And our first full season on that bike, we took home the Battle of the Twins 1 championship. So with the combination of Del knowing like good product and good fast bits, and me being able to fabricate and make whatever work because I custom build motorcycles, and then just going and putting in time on the track, it just kind of became a really good package. We're pretty quick, not to toot our own horn, but I just feel safe out there. I don't push it. I mean, we're not pro level, this is club racing, but it's fun. I want to give a big shout out to Del, the owner of both bikes, for hiring me to build them and allowing me to race them. It's an incredible opportunity. I'm very grateful. My wife for supporting my racing passion. Without her, I wouldn't be out here. Our title sponsor, WireCare. Check them out at wirecare.com for all your wire management needs. They've been our title sponsor since we started. Spectral Oils, they've been a shop sponsor for years. They have a great lineup of lubricants for your engine and motorcycle. RG Protection for all the components that kind of keep our bikes from crashing as bad as they could. Revit and Bell helmets for our riding gear. K&N air filters and oil filters. Enamel brand for our graphics and number plates. Magura, Behringer brakes, and Cone Engineering. I want to thank all of our sponsors. Without you guys, we wouldn't be out here doing it. So if you ever need any fabrication done or a custom bike built or some parts, make sure you check us out, analogmotorcycles.com. Check out the club that we race with, arma.org. They have road racing, flat track, and off-road. Check out all our sponsors' websites. We'll list them in the details below. But you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Analog Motorcycles, Analog Motor Goods. But thanks for checking this video out. Hope to see you out on the track. Bye.